My name is Colin Wheeler-James. I'm a passionate amateur beekeeper, but that's not my day job. I'm a development chef for Sodexo, UK and Ireland. We need the bee to pollinate many of our food crops. The one thing that we can all agree on is that bees are in serious decline, and we're all at threat and under threat of real issues with our food supply if we don't do something to combat the reduction in bee numbers. I think it's become something that the public can relate to, they can understand. There's been a lot of press coverage about bees and different problems facing bees, be it chemicals, be it lack of forage, be it bad weather sometimes. So I think for me, to be able to focus on the bee, to start doing something the right way is some massive potential benefits, because I think everybody will understand that to a greater or lesser degree. We've all got to take a stake in it. We've all got to be responsible for it. You, the farmers, are the guys that can manage it. Farmers are custodians of the land. I think you guys get bad press sometimes because ultimately all you're trying to do is make a living. But I think if we can come up with a way to encourage you to plant more of what you're planting around here, which can benefit you, which will benefit the wildlife and potentially benefit the wider public, then I think that's a great place to start. To make a real difference to bees right across the country, it needs to happen right across the country. We need to be able to replicate what you've done and show that it works everywhere, because there's no reason it can't. What you're doing on the farm ticks a lot of boxes for corporate and social responsibility. I think you've got to have assistance and support to do that. We've all got to contribute. It's reported that they will fly up to 5 miles to collect nectar and up to about 3 to collect pollen, because pollen's obviously heavier, so it's a bit more difficult for them to transport. With the wild plants that we have in the UK, bees tend to forage very well early on in the season, so they'll start with dandelions and move on to sort of willow and then other tree pollen and spring flowers, but they tend to stop flowering May. The last few years when I've been keeping bees, there's been emails generated by the National Bee Unit warning beekeepers around the UK of starvation in bees in June, and that's simply because there's a gap. It's called the June gap. There's essentially very little nectar and pollen producing flowers readily available at that time of year, because things like the bramble is one of the main food sources in autumn for bees, and that hasn't started flowering yet. So June can be a really tough time. Often colonies will starve. Really, in an ideal world, you would want to be having nectar source from sort of mid to late March right through to end of September, possibly middle of October, if we can achieve that. And the great thing about Phacelia is we know that flowers for 4 to 6 weeks. So if you can succession plant so that you've got that flowering through that period, then that's a great start, a really great start. The real thing that you've proved today, you haven't had to set aside massive amounts of land to make a difference. You've managed to incorporate what you're doing into the daily running of your farm. You're trying to create a range of habitats for bees and for wild birds, and which then has a knock-on effect of creating habitats for other creatures. Focusing on one species as heavily as you have with the bees, the knock-on effects I think are also massive, because you've now got cover for ground nesting birds, bring more mammals in, having all those extra insects, and some of the range of insects and just the sheer number of bumblebees we've seen today has been phenomenal. And also the staggered planting. So you've already addressed the whole principle of making sure you've got nectar source available throughout the year. Having your pigs right next to it so you can flip your pigs onto that land after it's finished flowering. Fantastic use of the land. And the pigs clearly quite like it too, because they've done a bit of thinning around the edges. What really stood out for me was you're not farming right up to the hedge edge. You've got some long grass and some rough country beside the hedge. You've got a wildlife corridor essentially, and then you've got your seed mixes or your bee-friendly plants. Just to sit and watch a bee work for 10 minutes is take the time to sit down and just watch it be busy and you relax, and it's magical. Bees are our friends, absolutely. We need to do something about it now while we've still got an opportunity.